Hello and welcome. You have found the channel 64 Hustle Chess. I am Buster Move 82, the channel presenter. A little bit about myself. I am not a GM. I am not a chess master. I am a chess enthusiast. I love the game and I invite you to come along and share my journey. I want to give a shout out to the Let's Castle crew on chess.com. All right. Please like, subscribe, share. A disclaimer to all parents and adults that my content is not intended for children, so you've been forewarned.
Fuck them kids.
Fuck the kids? Let's have fun. What's up, good people? So let's jump into this first game here. This is a game I played rapid on chess.com against Trimalcion 10. Looks like he's coming out of Mexico. So I'm playing black, he's playing white, and I excuse the noise in the background, but I got somebody on the treadmill burning some calories, but it's all good. All right, so starts out with a e4 opening. Right against e4, my favorite repertoire is to go ahead with the Sicilian Dragon. So he opens up with the bishop, all right, and I prepare to fianchetto the bishop. Now, typically, when I'm doing my accelerated dragon, I like to push this pawn here on d6. And what that does is it preps for whenever they push the pawn on the e file, because my knight's going to come out on f6. It's going to protect that knight. And you're going to see that's exactly what happens. Now, keep in mind, I'm not a grandmaster. I'm not a master. I'm an enthusiast. This person that I'm playing is not a grandmaster either. So, we're going to have some fights along with Stockfish because the computer doesn't always agree with my moves. But so be it. All right, so we get take. I go ahead and castle, and right away, he's going for the jugular with the bishop, contacting, checking the king. Now, it happens. You're gonna get aggressive players. Don't lose your shit. All right, just go ahead and take. All right, now you're gonna end up taking a bishop and a knight for a rook, and I did calculate that quickly. The material is equal. As you see, the evaluation bar is giving me the slight advantage over him because you don't really fill rooks early in the game. You're going to fill the rook later in the game, and with two extra pieces on the board, um, you're going to see that you can easily outplay your opponent, as long as you remain calm. Now, one thing I am worried about is I am worried about my king on the f7 square. The queen is the only opponent piece that can really affect the light squares. So that is one of my main concerns at this point. But it's not the end of the world. So we got a bit of play in the center of the board. You want to get these pieces developed. As you see, my opponent is smart getting these pieces out. Stockfish doesn't like me bringing my bishop on the corner. I just wanted to see what my opponent's board site is. It's very easy to hang a rook, especially on a long diagonal, but he picks that up. All right. So I get the queen off the back square because I do want to bring the rook into contention. So he pushes the pawn. Um, Stockfish wants me to bring the knight here, looking for a fork up this way. You're gonna see later on I kind of blundered that move, but I developed putting a little pressure on the queen. I actually want to take that bishop. I want to take his long range pieces and be the only one with the bishop on the board. Um, so he moves the queen. I do take the bishop. Now Stockfish doesn't like that. Stockfish is looking for almost a queen exchange. Um, but I do end up losing that bishop. Um, and I did miss that rook fork. All right, but it's not the end of the world. Evaluation bar still giving me the edge. We exchange knights. I centralize my knight, and he tries to set up a skewer. All right, so I bring. My plan is to bring my rook over. I want to get my king back into the corner, tucked away into safety. My opponent's king is safe, so now I got to figure out how to crack open that corner. So he puts pressure on the knight. I bring the pawn up. And this was a big error, I think, on my opponent's play. All right. By opening up his king, he's worried about a back rank check. I only have one rook on the board and I do have a queen, but allowing these squares that he cannot control, um, not a good idea. At least that's what I think. So I get my king out of the way. He's pushing pawn. I push the pawn, give the queen a check, and he moves the queen over, centralized onto the board. It is a great position. It does put pressure on this pawn right here. Um, but I got other plans in mind. So I get the queen out of the way to prevent the check, king, I mean, and he goes ahead and takes the pawn. All right, now it is a sack. Um, I mean, he's getting the pawn, setting up an exchange, so it's not technically a sack, but I don't know. I think I have enough compensation. I have the knight, I have the bishop, and I have a rook for two rooks. And we're gonna see who outplays who. So we get a queen exchange. I immediately go after the rook. He moves the rook out of the way. I put more pressure to the rook. He's putting pressure on the knight. Get the knight out of the way, centralized onto the board, selecting a target. All right, you want to present problems for your opponent. I also have the rook facing down on this pawn here, and he knows that he needs to keep an eye on that pawn. All right, so he drops the rook. I go ahead and collect the pawn, and I'm ready to go for the second pawn. My idea is to see if I can push these two and get these guys rolling up the board. And he goes ahead and he tries to protect that pawn, but it's an error because immediately I snatch up that rook. That's why I say that knight, that bishop combination against a rook, it's very easy to catch your opponent off guard. All right, and I got a blue exclamation for that move. Great move. All right, so he takes my pawn. I put more pressure on his rook. He comes down to fork the knight and the pawn. All right, I forget about the pawn. I'm not gonna stress it. All right, and he takes. So now I bring out the bishop, and he's gonna go for a pawn push, immediately putting pressure on the main pieces. I am not worried about this skewer. All right, I'm going for the check. Queen moves, king moves, putting pressure back on that rook. I pick up the pawn in the corner. He can't do anything about the bishop there, but he's gonna try. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and take. So now it's two pawns each, but I have the knight, and we're gonna see how that plays out. And immediately I bring out my king. You want to get that king central in the board in the end game. And I'm getting these pawns rolling up the board. With my king here, my objective is to keep his king out of the way so that way I can get these pawns rolling up the board. That's my plan. So here we go. Use that knight. All right. And we're just going to roll right up the board. And at this point, one thing I'm worried about because I do have a bad habit of stalemating. So I'm keeping a look at what squares are available for the king to run to, so that way I don't get a stalemate. He has no other pieces on the board. So you're gonna see some dancing around with this knight, putting pressure there. I get the check, and then there goes the queen. Immediately, all over. Nice checkmate. Queen. king, knight, king in the corner. All right. That was definitely a win for me. Picked up a couple extra points on my journey to a rapid score of over 1,000. All right. Prepping up for my next tournament in the next couple weeks. Stay tuned. I got more content coming. Peace.